See if you make that first spot, Jackson.
Go to the right, go to the right.
Oh, it's great.
Oh, yeah.
Today, I am having a driving lesson with a local police officer.
Good, doing good. How are you?
This is Jackson.
How are you?
I'm kind of nervous to practice driving with this police officer, but I think it'll be good practice for me.
In the family, who would be the best driver? I would say definitely not Jackson.
Who in the family is the least cautious driver?
James?
Hey you guys, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It's another day, another Duggars scandal. Yes, that's right. If you have been watching my YouTube channel, you know that we cover the Duggars, and we also talk about all kinds of things like the Bates and people that get involved in groups and they think that they can change the world by talking about their leaders' made up fictitious rules, not the biblical rules, and spread it all over the world. And nobody likes to do that more than the Duggars and the Bates. Okay, it's not just the Duggars and the Bates that like to do this, but it's definitely part of their evangelism. And there is a massive conflict going on in the world right now, if you have not paid attention to the news, in Ukraine, between Ukraine and Russia. With the very serious situation going on there has been a lot of warnings from the US government along with Ukraine to not travel to the country while the situation continues to unfold. The US government is telling people from the US to not travel to Ukraine, and anyone that's in Ukraine that's a US citizen to leave as soon as possible. Well, yesterday, Medicorp, which is the organization that is run by John David Duggar and Kenneth Bates and a bunch of other Duggars, they claim that they're sending medical doctors into Ukraine to help. I'm gonna say that this is probably not true. First of all, they are not an approved NGO. They do not have any clearance with the departments in the United States to go into these types of situations. And this is not a humanitarian effort like, say, cleaning up from a natural disaster. This is actually combat. And they said this on Instagram. Please be in prayer for our medical team as we dispatch to support the Ukraine crisis. Stay tuned for continued updates. So where are they going to go? Where do you think Medicorp is going to be able to go? You can't get into the train and you can't get out of the train, and they have strict rules about who can enter based upon the pandemic that's going on in the world. I have a very hard time believing that in this day and age that the Duggars would go to Ukraine to help in a situation that is so unstable. This is a situation where civilians are engaging to protect their country against Russia. And you're going to tell me that doctors are going to walk into Ukraine to help? How? They don't have a contract with the United States government. They're not registered with the United States government. Unless they're with Doctors Without Borders, guessing that doctors that are going in would be associated with countries in Europe. So my question is, where are they dispatching? And is it really appropriate to say you're dispatching to Ukraine? Dispatching is when you get a call from 911 and someone has an emergency. Dispatching implies that you are taking your ambulance and your helicopter or whatever it is, and you're going to rescue someone who's ill and take them to the hospital or go to an emergency. What in fact are they dispatching to? Who are they dispatching for? And what countries are they dispatching to? I did a quick search on the internet to verify what types of restrictions are in play here and what they might be able to do. And a travel advisory was put out by the U.S. Department of State that says that U.S. citizens should depart immediately if it's safe to do so using any commercial or privately available ground transportation options. Remaining citizens should carefully monitor government notices and local and international media outlets for information. The U.S. State Department at this time was suspending operations at the embassy in Kiev. The U.S. embassy is closing in Kiev, and the Duggars and their doctors think they're going to go there and dispatch. Are they really this arrogant? They outlined what's going on in this, but the warning specifically states, do not travel to Ukraine due to armed issues and COVID. U.S. citizens should not depart immediately if it is safe. Should depart immediately if it is safe to do so using any commercial and all transportation methods. So there's two factors at play, because not only is this issue handling going on with Ukraine and Russia, but there's also a pandemic. According to the U.S. Embassy, you're not allowed to actually go to Ukraine because of restrictions. And the restrictions state that you have to have a negative test taken within 72 hours prior to entering. You have to have an antigen test taken within 72 hours prior to entering, or you have to have at least one dose of the vaccine. And if you're unvaccinated, you must quarantine for a week after you enter. So Ukraine has very specific rules about entering, and then the embassy here is saying, don't go there. But not only that, so it's not just the embassy that is saying, listen, don't go to Ukraine, but even Ukraine has suspended travel outside of the country. On February 27th, Ukraine actually suspended their international airlines. So according to Reuters, the Ukrainian International Airlines said on Sunday it had extended the suspension of its regular and charter flights until March 23rd due to the closure of Ukrainian airspace to civilian users. The country's biggest airline stopped operating services on February 24th after the invasion, and they're targeting airports and other infrastructure. The airspace in Ukraine is closed. So how are they going to get into Ukraine? Are they going to go to a neighboring country like Romania, Poland, Hungary? And then are they going to travel by a cargo van to dispatch? Do you really think the Duggars and their doctors are really needed right now in Ukraine? I'm actually they've done a lot of stupid things over the years. Like, I don't know if you remember, they went to the Bahamas and they were accused of stealing fuel and creating chaos for the NGOs that were actually registered to be after the hurricanes in the Bahamas. And they literally were like running around with guns, even though they were in a foreign country. And you have to have like permission to do that in a foreign country. So they were like taking fuel from people and then selling that fuel. And apparently, I mean, these were eyewitness accounts from people seeing the John David Duggar, like yelling at people that were volunteering. They would order food and they would stay inside and they wouldn't let other people come inside in the air conditioning with them. They took over carts that other NGOs could use. A lot of the NGOs that were there that were registered with the State Department and with the government were furious with their interactions with Medicorp. And when they went to, they went to Louisiana, they went to Haiti. I just don't really understand what their point is in going to these places, but this one by far is the most ridiculously dangerous, and I just can't see how this is possible. I don't know how they're going to get into Ukraine. They're not letting people in. They're not letting people fly in. The U.S. Embassy is saying, don't go there. COVID restrictions are preventing people from being there. So what are they going to do when they get there? And if you're donating money to dispatch, what's the goal once they get there? This is so vague, and it's just another way, because Medicorp's whole goal is to spread the gospel. So in the very middle, and it's all run by cult members in the IBLP. So you're going to tell me in the middle of a war, you think that the right calling to do is to bring your doctors that are cult members so that you can spread the word of the gospel while you treat them for injuries, while they're going through the worst phase, the worst conflict of their lives? I always think, oh gosh, the Duggars can't get any lower. And then they do this. And I'm like, of course, anything to grift, anything to use a situation for their attention. And for some of you that will say, oh, Katie, you're just being so negative. The proof is in the pudding. How are they going to get in there? They're not a registered NGO. Who do you think is actually going to allow them in? Do you really think this is a smart idea for them without any military training. These aren't people from the military. These are people that went to the Alert Academy and think that they're Jesus Army people. They're like, they've got Jesus military. That's not military training. The people that need to be there are people in the military, not civilians, not arrogant civilians in cults. But that's just my 2 cents. And if you wanted to donate, why not donate to efforts that are actually already there, helping, doing what they can do and getting resources and supplies to the country? Why not do that instead of going to an organization that may or may not get there? Like, donate at your own risk. What are your thoughts? Tell me in the comments below. Bye, guys.